Welcome back. This morning, the president and CEO of Eversource Energy is joining us. Just over 2 weeks ago, Joseph Nolan sent a letter to President Biden expressing concern about being able to provide enough power to customers in New England this winter. He wrote, quote, "As both an energy company CEO and a lifelong New Englander, I am deeply concerned about the potentially severe impact a winter energy shortfall would have on the people and businesses of this region. ISO New England, the region's electricity grid operator, and the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission have acknowledged for many months that New England will not have sufficient natural gas to meet power supply needs for the region in the event of a severe cold spell this winter. This represents a serious public health and safety threat." He goes on to write, "I respectfully urge you, Mr. President, to employ the emergency powers of the federal government to take all steps to ensure that adequate fuel resources will be available in the event of severe weather conditions in New England this winter." Joe Nolan, the author of that letter, is joining us this morning. Joe, thank you very much for being with us. What prompted you to write it? You say in there, both as a CEO and a New Englander, what got your attention and said, geez, I got to reach out to the White House?
Well, Eric, I've been in this business for 38 years. And as I looked at the winter, the oncoming winter and the supply issue, we have been drilling at Eversource what it would take if we did reach a situation where there was not enough electricity supply. And those drills include rotating blackouts in the region. And that is that really troubled me quite a bit. And it's not because we lack the electric generating capacity. It's really the fuel. These generators do not have fuel on site to enable them on the coldest days to operate. And so consequently, I wanted the White House, who has been very cooperative on all energy issues. We have a great working relationship with them. I was at the White House for the signing of the IRA. And, I know that they will do everything they can to be sure that folks in this region have adequate supply. But at this point, I think the fuel levels are very low for generators. We do not own any generation. There are a significant number of oil and natural gas plants in the region that do not have firm supply. So consequently, if a very cold snap occurred, we could be facing rolling blackouts.
So your letter has a lot of detail on what you believe are some of the factors that lead into this. And I'd encourage people, if they haven't already, to go read it, because it is a fascinating read to break it down. But just for the average person at home, they want to make sure when they flip that light switch or turn on that heat source that it's going to click on. There's going to be power behind it. Can you give us just a layman's explanation of what has occurred that led to these potential shortfalls?
Sure. So the generating units in the region, some have what we call firm fuel supply. That means that it's uninterrupted, just like we're going to have for our natural gas customers. All of our natural gas customers should not worry. We have a 20 to 25 day supply of fuel that is in the region that we're able to supply. These are generating units that operate in the region. And, I don't blame the generators. They don't want to go out to the marketplace and fill up their tanks with the 100,000 gallons of fuel at, say, $6 a gallon. It's a real challenge. And then if they don't use it, then they're facing, $3 a gallon, say, in May. So what we're trying to do is get the White House, who has significant petroleum reserves, to get them to release some of this oil for these generators and allow them to be prepared should a cold snap occur. In addition to that, there are tankers that are coming into the Gulf of Mexico. There are probably 8 of them there right now. These are from countries like Greece and Singapore, Bermuda, Malta, and they're coming in getting American LNG, and they're leaving for Japan, for Turkey, and for various ports in Europe. And I really find that troubling to me, and I want to have that fuel come to an American port. But right now, because of some very old laws called the Jones Act, we're not allowed to move American LNG between ports. So if we want to get fuel in this region, from the Gulf, well, we can't get it from the Gulf, but if we want to get fuel in the region, we're getting it from Trinidad and Tobago, which is disturbing to me. So the president has the power to give a waiver for the Jones Act. They did it during the catastrophes that took place in Puerto Rico, and he would be able to allow a foreign flag vessel to move freely between U.S. ports.
Just over this past weekend, we saw the governor of New Hampshire, Governor Chris Sununu, was on Face the Nation on CBS, and he was asked about your letter and the White House response. And one of the things he said was that the Biden administration has been so focused on renewable energy, they took their eye off the ball when it comes to old-fashioned energy sources, and he felt they hadn't done enough. Have you had a response from the White House? I know you said they've been a cooperative partner, but do you agree with Governor Sununu up in New Hampshire that they just haven't done enough to make sure this won't be an issue?
You know, we've had discussions with the Department of Energy. We actually have a meeting coming up later today, actually, with the CEOs. We met earlier last week, the CEOs, and we did talk about this issue, and it has their attention, and they are being very cooperative. They're going to do whatever it takes to help us get through this coming winter. I wouldn't say that they've taken their eye off the ball. It's, no one would have been able to anticipate this war in Ukraine, as well as the behavior of Russia in terms of energy. So, I don't think it's something you can blame the White House for.
I said to you before that what people really care about is if they flip the switch and the light comes on, of course, but they also care when they get that bill with the Eversource logo on it. I'm sure you hear a lot of feedback from that from customers. What can people expect then over the winter? I know we've seen the cost of everything going up. Do you anticipate the cost of electricity? And you mentioned those natural gas customers. Do you expect to see them have rate increases as well?
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, this world energy crisis and this war has caused prices to reach some extremely high levels. So, we're dealing with two issues. We're dealing with high prices, and we're dealing with a shortage around fuel for generating units. And this is what's driving the price increases, unfortunately. So, customers are going to feel the pain, and we've been trying to do everything we can around conservation, around budget billing. Fortunately, Washington just released a significant amount of money for LIHEAP funding. So the congressional delegation has been working very hard to get that, along with the governors and Governor Lamont, to allow us to get more money for folks that are in need. So we're doing everything we can to try to help folks get through these challenging times and just be sure that we can keep the lights on when customers need it.
We saw this week a Lending Tree put out some numbers. 32% of households in Connecticut had to make a choice about food or medicine to afford all their energy needs. That includes gasoline and all sorts of other things. But do you hear that, and how does it affect them? I mean, do you have percentages yet on what people can expect as we head into the winter season?
Well, we're seeing numbers anywhere from, say, 19 to 30% on increases. As you know, Eversource does not own any generation. And Eversource doesn't own any, say, commodity, the natural gas piece of it. We go to the marketplace on behalf of our customers. There's also customers that are able to buy. They buy from third parties as well. And so, we go out there, and it's certainly a struggle. It's something that's very, very trying. And we understand the challenges that customers are facing. And we're going to work with them, just as we've worked with them for the last 100 years.
All right. Joseph Nolan, the president and CEO of Eversource Energy, joining us once again on the show, this time by Zoom. We appreciate you being with us here on CT22. We hope to have you back. Thanks, Joe.
Thanks so much, Eric.